Hello and welcome back to the TorontoWebsiteDeveloper.com. I am Peter Jaworski, the Toronto Website Developer specializing in Drupal. And this is the first video tutorial in our second video tutorial series on creating an e-commerce site using Drupal and Ubercart. And this video tutorial, like the first, is brought to you in collaboration between myself and the Ubercart.org team. We thought it'd be great to continue our learning and take a look at some advanced topics covering Drupal and Ubercart. So in this series, we're going to take a look at updating our site, which we forgot to do in the first video tutorial series, so that's what we'll be covering today. But we'll also look at things like the feeds module, which will allow you to import mass products into your actual site to get your site up and running in no time. Then we'll be taking a look at advanced theming concepts. So I'll be covering like the less framework. So I'll show you how to do some CSS work, how to create your own theme. I know we started to talk about it in the first video tutorial series, but we didn't really actually get into the meat of theming. So we'll be looking at that in this video tutorial series. We'll also be taking a look at some use case scenarios for Ubercart. So briefly, we just created file downloads and created roles, but we actually didn't get into the meat of an e-commerce site of what you can do with Ubercart. And so maybe we'll take a look at an event registration site. Maybe a question and answer site, that kind of thing. So we'll be covering those types of topics and some topics that people had posted on the video tutorials, wanting to see some discussion around certain concepts. So if there's anything you'd like to see out of this video tutorial series, please comment now, put it on, because in these next few video tutorials we'll be shaping up how the finishing touches for this series will look. And so if there's anything you want to see, please let me know so that I can incorporate it. But that said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to update our site. This is something we should have done in the first video tutorial series when we wwent live, but unfortunately I forgot to show it to you, so I want to make sure that we do that right away, because what this allows you to do is ensure that your site is secure and that you have the the most recent security patches for all of your modules, as well as Drupal core. So in recording this video tutorial, usually I like to walk through them and then then record it and actually show you, so that I'm not stuttering and screwing things up. Not that I don't stutter to begin with in these video tutorials. But in doing that, I actually forgot to back up the entire site. So when I updated it and walked through the entire thing, I actually updated the site we were going to update together. So my Ubercart tutorial series is actually up to date, and it's got my most recent version of Drupal core. So we can't actually update this site. So what we're going to do is update my local development site that I use for my other video tutorials, TWD Box 7. And so it's going to be the exact same concept, but this is going to be a local server rather than our FTP server. So I'll flag for you what that means when we're actually doing things, but beyond that, it's not going to be much of a difference. So first thing we want to do when we're updating our site is we want to go ahead and we want to put our site into maintenance mode. And the reason why we do this is because we want no changes to the database. We don't want anything happening when we're working on our site. Make sure that we're not going to screw anything up. So the way that we do that is we go to configuration, we go to development, and we go to maintenance mode. Now, when you get here, you're going to go ahead, check this little box that says put this site into maintenance mode, and you'll be able to customize your own message. I'm just going to leave this as what Drupal core provides me, but you can put whatever you want. Thank you for your patience, be back in 5 minutes, I'm updating the site, that kind of thing. So go ahead and save configuration. And now, if I open a new browser and I go to local host/TWD box 7, we get a site maintenance or site under maintenance message, right? Exactly what we typed in, and that's what your users will see, unless they have the permission to administer the site, which I hope they do not. So that's that. We're now into maintenance, and now we should back up the site. And so the manual way that we do this, if you remember from the first video tutorial series, and I'm really realizing now I probably don't have the module set up. Oh no, I do. That's great. Sorry, sidebar. First video tutorial series, we went ahead and we downloaded, backup, and migrate. So we're now going to go ahead and actually use that module. So system, backup, and migrate. And we're going to manually back up our default database using our default settings, and we're going to do it for download. So we'll go ahead and back up now. And you'll see it comes up as an actual file. Go ahead and save it to my desktop. So good. Now I have a backup of the database in case I royally screw anything up. While we're here as a sidebar, we should have set up schedules when we did our first site to make sure that we always have our site incrementally backing up. And you can go ahead and hit an add a schedule here. You just got to make sure that your private file system is set up. So it's pretty straightforward. You can walk through this type of thing, but you choose an actual schedule name, default settings, just leave it as default. You don't need to do anything crazy. Backup, I would say every 1 day, unless you have a super active site. I don't know, that'd be kind of weird. And destination, obviously I don't have a destination chosen here because I haven't set up my file system, so you want to do that. And then you'll have a destination available to you. And that's the way to go about doing that. So we've got our site backed up. Other thing we should actually do is, because we're going to be affecting files on our site, and we want to make sure that, in case that we screw anything up, and actually when I was preparing for this tutorial series, this video, I actually really screwed up the site. But that said, you want to download and back up everything, all of your files. So go ahead, open up your FTP server, or your client rather, download the entire site, all of your Drupal installation. And by that, I mean, and I'll walk you through what ours actually looks like. So here's my site for TWD Box 7, so this is everything. So just copy this, create another folder, download it, keep it, in case you screw anything up and you need to get the site back up right away. So that said, we're now ready to go. You see we're getting these messages about security updates. When we actually set up our site in the first video tutorial series, when we were choosing our modules to enable, we enabled the Update Manager. And what the Update Manager does is it actually keeps track of when you have to update your module, or in your site, but it also can securely install and update the modules via web interface. So you can do a one-click download and install everything. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's actually pretty easy. Just go to Modules, just going to go to Update. And you'll see here are all the modules that we need to update. So this is obviously going to be a little bit different for you, and I apologize for doing the other site without you guys, but you just go ahead, click all. So you're going to check off all that apply here. And you're going to download these updates. You'll see down here, manual updates are required for Drupal core. And that's because this module, Update Manager, can't actually do Drupal core by itself. And so we'll manually walk through how to do that. But we can go ahead and hit download these updates. And you'll see here it actually prepares, you'll get the JavaScript bar going across the actual progress. I'm not going to make you painfully wait through all that, so I'll see you when this is done. So there we go, we're done. And now you'll see here we've got this perform updates with site maintenance mode. We're obviously still in maintenance mode, so that's good. What this will do is actually install the modules for us now. It doesn't actually run update.php, which is another step we have to do. We'll go ahead and hit continue. So now you'll see we're back here with our progress, preparing to update the site. Again, I'll skip past this so you don't have to painfully wait for it. And there we go. So we've updated everything. We haven't updated everything, but we've updated all of our modules. We see that they're all installed successfully. But the next thing we've got to do is still run our database updates. So we'll go ahead and click that. So now we're here on the update.php file, and so, or rather screen. We'll go to continue. And we'll see we've got 3 pending patches, right? So what this means is these modules are going to actually make changes to the database, depending upon what they have installed in the database. So we'll go ahead and hit apply. And again, you're going to get the status bar for starting the updates. And that's usually pretty quick. Usually you get a summary of what's actually changed here, but obviously we're not getting that, so it shouldn't be too bad. We'll see that we're attempted, we've got no failures, so we're good to go. So that's updating the modules. Now I should mention that I've taken for granted that you'd be doing this as the super user, and that is user 1 on your site who has access to everything. If you're not, and you can't find, you've enabled the update manager and you can't find it or that kind of thing, you can't find backup and migrate, it's going to be a permissions issue. So you want to go back and make sure that the role that you're using has permission to do everything that we just did. And you would do that by going to permissions here and just walking through to make sure that you're good to go. So as I mentioned, we updated the modules, but we actually haven't updated Drupal core. And so I'll show you how to manually do that because it's got to be done manually. And when we're done that, I'm actually going to show you an alternative to all of this that would really streamline your life and make things a lot easier. And that's to use Drush, which stands for the Drupal shell. And what it is actual command line, scripting, a series of scripts that you can use that makes things a lot easier. It's actually maintained on Drupal.org, and it's listed there as a project, but it's not an actual module that you install. It's something that you, quote unquote, install to your server, and then you can use to manipulate, common functionality or common tasks that you'll be using in your Drupal site to make things a lot easier. So obviously updating is one, backing up is another. And so it's really cool because a lot of modules will hook into it and you can do some pretty neat stuff. So we'll walk through that afterwards. But now I'll show you how to actually manually update Drupal core. So as I mentioned, we're doing this all locally, so you're going to have to pretend that you're doing this through FTP. But here, I'm going to go ahead, copy all of this except for my sites folder. So I've selected everything. And what I'm going to do is going to get crazy and I'm going to delete everything. So just make sure I'm in the right place here, deleting all of this. And what this actually does is it gets rid of all of Drupal core. And the reason why we do that is because when we update, we're actually going to replace all the core files. We want to make sure that we don't screw anything up. There's no conflicts when we get in the new files for the new version. So with that all gone, the reason why we didn't do the sites folder is because as I mentioned previously, never hack Drupal core. Don't touch any of the core folders. Anything that you should be touching is all in the sites folder, and so that's your setup to connect to your database, those are your files, it's everything. Everything should be in the sites folder. You should never go into the core modules folder, core themes folder to do anything. That's why in the previous video tutorial series, when we were playing around with the theme, we copied that theme into sites all themes and then played with it from there. And the reason for that is because when you go to update, you're going to override anything that you do. So here I've gone ahead and I've downloaded Drupal 7.21, which is the most current version at the time of this recording. And I'm going to copy everything except for the sites folder because I already have that. And I'm just going to move it over into my TWD sandbox. So this would be like you uploading all of this back to Drupal. So once I do that, I can go back to my site and I'm just going to reload it. And we'll hope that I didn't seriously screw anything up like I did when I was first rehearsing this video tutorial series. So we'll see the site comes back, it's good. I can still go to home, my tabs will work, everything looks good. So the files are good, but the one thing that we haven't done is updated the database. And so we go to update.php, and we're going to go ahead and click continue. And we'll see that we've got 4 pending updates. So this is what Drupal is going to update in our database. Specifically the system module and the forum module are going to be updated. So we go ahead and hit apply. Great, so now with that updated, we can go back to our front page. And now we've updated our modules, we've updated Drupal core, so our site's fully up to date, and we can confirm that by going to available updates. And if we look, we can see we're getting no available releases found, but that's because if we just do a check manual, obviously it's going to initialize, so I'm just going to skip this for you guys, so I'll see you back when it's done. And there we go, we should have all green check marks, so we're good. One thing that's not listed here is an actual theme because I'm not using a custom, or rather contributed theme. I'm using Bartik. I don't actually see anything about my theme being out of date. You might. Before you go ahead and update, I would check to see what the actual updates pertain to, because if you've modified that theme, which is more than likely, you don't want to go ahead and just update it because you'll lose all of your modifications. But that said, last thing that we have to do is we have to take our site out of maintenance mode. So we'll go back to go online. We just do that by taking that check mark off. And before we conclude, I'm going to show you 2 things. So this video tutorial assumed that you were doing this all from within the web interface for updating your modules. If that wasn't the case, for whatever reason, and you couldn't, the way to manually do that is to go to your site, so you'd FTP in, or maybe using the command shell, you can go ahead and log in. Either way, you're going to go to Sites All Modules, and let's say I was updating the admin module, or admin menu. I would go ahead, delete that. This is also assuming you haven't hacked this up, because it's something you should never do, because obviously you don't get the benefits of the community from that. And so then I've downloaded this off of Drupal.org, gone to the project page for admin module, downloaded the most recent version, extracted it. All I would do is upload it to my site. So I would just move it back here. Admin module now has the most recent code. Next thing that I would do, and I would obviously still be in maintenance mode, but I would go to update.php, click enter, run through the updates for that. If you had to do that for all of your modules, the way to manually do it, obviously go to the project page for each one of them, download them, copy them over, and then run update.php in one shot. Now, I promised you I'd show you Drush. So what Drush is, as I mentioned, a series of scripts that you can use for common tasks on your site. So if you feel a little bit uncomfortable with this could be the end of the video tutorial for you. But if you want to see some cool things and how to take your site to the next level, or rather the administration of your site to the next level, work with me here. So I'm going to go to drupal.org/project/drush, download that, get that installed on your web server. I apologize, I can't help you with all the questions of that. Some of it is super technical, way beyond my skill set. But the Drush team is awesome, and I'm almost positive if you run into any issues, someone has run into it, and there will be an answer on Drupal.org for you to help fix that. I ran into that trying to get this installed on Windows, and the Drush team has an awesome Windows installer now, so gone ahead and use that. That's why I'm in this Drush command prompt. And so I'm actually into my WAMP server, and I'm onto my TWD box 7 site. And so the cool thing here is I'll have to go to Drush status. Drush knows what site I'm looking at, gives me all the information about it. So as I mentioned before, we had to actually back up our site and then we had to update Drupal. We can do that in like 2 steps with Drush. So all these commands, all of that, just what happened there is all the commands that are available out of Drush because of either Drush providing it or modules hooking into it. And so if you remember, we used backup and migrate module, and that actually hooks into Drush as well. So if we look at these, all commands in backup and migrate, I can see I've got to back up the site's database with the module right away. So I can just go drush bb, which is the command that it provides, hit OK. And I'm getting a bunch of errors because it's not actually set up for my file system here. But Drush, typically, if I'd done this on my actual live server, would have 2 seconds created a file, downloaded, boom, done on the side, that I can go FTP in and grab if I want to. Then I can go drush up. And what Drush is going to do right now is it's going to check all of my modules, as well as Drupal core, see if anything needs updating, and it's going to go ahead and do that. And so it would actually update my database at the same time. And so because we already walked through and did everything, it's not going to, have anything to do. But Drush would have gone ahead, would have downloaded all the modules, installed all the modules, and run update.php, and it would have taken all the steps that I did manually through my website off my back and done them all in a simple script. And so that's pretty cool. And that's just scratching the surface. Like, there are other things that Drush will do. You'll see here, Views provides some commands, Voting API provides some commands, and you can also write your own scripts. If you do a quick search, you can disable all of your modules that are non-core. You can enable all of your modules that are non-core. If you're doing a site migration or that kind of thing. So it's really cool. A lot of things that you can do. I definitely recommend you take a look at Drush. But that's the end of this video tutorial. So just to recap, went ahead and first thing that you're going to do when you're updating your site, put it into maintenance mode. Second thing you're going to do, back up the database. Then you're going to go ahead, do your modules, do Drupal core. You're going to run update.php for both of those. And then making sure that there's no problems, you're going to go ahead, take that maintenance mode back off, allow your users back onto your site, and you should be good to go. So that's it for this video tutorial. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this was helpful. We'll see you in the next video tutorial where we'll be taking a look at mass importation using the the feeds module, maybe taking a look at UC feeds. So again, if this helps, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up. Always appreciate those, and we'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thanks very much.